Hello and welcome to the Merino Custom Works channel. I recently repaired and sealed a chimney here in the Azores, and the concepts are the same no matter where you are. Most important of all, the tiles were not sealed around the chimney base, leaving huge gaps for our bird and mice and rat friends. I've simplified the chimney makeover into 3 steps. We first want to remove the tiles and clean all around the base of the chimney. Next, we'll need to plan out which materials to use and how to lay it all out. And lastly, we'll apply everything in the correct order and manner. To clean the area, I need to remove the tiles directly around the chimney. And here, as you can see, it's 3 rows down from the peak, which means that the top tiles are going to be a little stiff to try to get out of there. So I'm assessing how easy or difficult this is going to be, and then starting at the bottom and moving up to take these tiles out gently. As I'm removing the tiles and working my way up, I'm removing any kind of bird nest or debris that might be left behind from rodents or anything else that might be up there. I'm also checking the flashing here to make sure that it's good and intact and doesn't have any holes or anything like that in it. This particular roof has a metal flashing and it is in good shape. There were a couple of nail holes that were in a bad zone, which we'll address later. This side of the chimney was a bit more stuck with silicone that was added by the previous owner, and also some mortar that were underneath some half tiles that had to be cut to fit this to the size. As you can see, I'm using a box cutter and flat bar to pry these apart and get these put aside. The existing flashing on this side was in good shape, except the bottom edge here was curled over to make the water flow alongside the chimney. However, if there's a heavy waterfall, water could get up and over the edge and into the house. Here I'm cleaning up the rest of the tiles on this side and scraping all the mortar off the flashing. Continue to clean up the bottom edge of the tiles here, and all of these are going to be replaced. They have mortar on top of them. Some of them are cracked. So I have 3 or 4 full tiles to replace and 1 half tile that I have to actually cut and then replace that. The last couple of steps are to scrape the metal clean and then wipe it down with alcohol or some other solvent that doesn't leave a residue. Now that the roof is clean and we can see the layout and the condition of the existing roof, we need to plan out what materials to use and in what order. We'll also need to address any problem areas. I'm going to use a combination of Portland cement, roll flashing, which is like a sticky, gooey tar on a plastic liner, and finish up with a hydrolock sealant, which we'll paint and brush on over the seams. I sketched out a layout of the roll flashing to make it easier to follow. We're going to cut 4 strips of flashing, 1 for each side of the chimney, and work from the bottom up. This is the same process for metal, asphalt shingle, or this roll flashing. You want the rainwater to flow over the seams and not against or into them. Everything will overlap from the top down. The first strip is cut so that you have 10 to 12 centimeter extra material past the edge of both sides of the chimney. You'll then cut the material down the center to the edge of the wall. The top half of the flashing will stick to the wall and wrap around each side 10 to 12 centimeters. The bottom edge will lay flat across the deck of the roof. So it looks something like this. You have the cut here is the center cut. the top will wrap around the edge of the wall of the chimney, and this part will lay flat. The next two strips will do the same thing, but on each side of the chimney. The 10 to 12 centimeter excess will overlap the bottom flashing on the wall and the deck. So it looks something like this. Coming across, it goes over the deck part and then wraps around over the wall part. Lastly, the top flashing piece will overlap the sides, and now you have all of your seams flowing downward. So it looks something like this. Coming across over the side and then wrapping around over the side flashing, and the same on the other side. You may notice 4 points of weakness at the bottom corner of the flashing, right here, here, and here. Typically with metal or asphalt shingles, you're going to put roofing cement underneath the flashing and let it bleed through, and then again on top, and that will cover these points here. For the flashing that we're using, we're going to cover the whole area with a sealant. There were a couple of nails that were exposed and in bad spots. Like this one here is on the right side. There's one at the top, which is not quite as bad. It's near the seam anyway. And the one on the left side here is also in a bad spot. These were definitely leaking at some point. I decided to go ahead and cut that tile and get that out of the way as well. And I really like this angle grinder, battery powered. Now that we got all the planning and prep work out of the way, it's time to go ahead and seal the chimney base. As I put the tiles back, I'm working from the bottom row up. The tiles directly below the chimney are packed with mortar underneath any type of flashing. Any rows above this will be mortared on top of the flashing. Now I'm working with the tiles on the side of the chimney. I'm putting back the full tiles, and then the half tiles here are going to be mortared completely. Before that happens, I have to put down the flashing. There's a bit of a change because the flashing on the bottom edge of the chimney is elevated, so my new flashing had to go underneath that, and then I'm tucking this around, but the rest is the same concept. Notice that the roll flashing goes a bit over the metal flashing seam and sticks to the bottom roll flash. This is a bit of an improvement because prior to this, the metal flashing was just folded 2 to 3 centimeters over top of the bottom tile. I'm packing in mortar on top of the flashing and sticking the half tiles on top of that. Later I'll come back around and I will fill in the inside edge of those tiles to make sure that it creates a trough for the water to go through without being able to ride up underneath those tiles. Now that all of the roll flashing is in place and the tiles are back in order, I'm filling all of the tiles with cement all the way around to make sure there's a solid trough. Later I'll come in with the sealant and cover all of that to make sure it's watertight. I'm also going to do the upper row of tiles there to make sure that if there's anything that gets clogged in that trough and it backs up, that's going to be sealed as well. In this stage, I've already applied the sealant with a brush, which is similar to what I'm doing here. This is a fiber paint that's going over the seals. It's more color matched to the tile, and it just kind of blends everything in and makes everything look nice. I've also painted the chimney all the way down, and you can paint over the sealant with this stuff. The sealant is paintable. This is the finished product. You can see there is a sealed trough all the way around the chimney with many layers of protection. I've also finished the top of the chimney that was wearing away and painted it with primer plus 2 coats of paint. If you liked the video and got something out of it, please like and subscribe. Feel free to comment. And just for fun in Portuguese, vamos falando, amigos.